morning, everyone. Today we're going to start the first session of this HealthCon with an exemplary lecture on a topic which is so relevant today by none other than Padma Bhushan Professor Dr. B.M. Hegde. Dr. B.M. Hegde is a living legend, an icon of modern times. He's an astute physician and a cardiologist, one of the earliest MRCPs from Karnataka, and now he's an examiner for the same. He's a great educationalist. He was the former dean of KMC Mangalore and the former vice chancellor of Mahe, Manipal University. He's a teacher who is globally acclaimed, and he has a huge fan following. I am one of them. And his niche area, rather, he firmly believes in holistic approach to healthcare. Probably he wants us to look beyond the disease in a person. And he's a prolific writer, both on medical and non-medical topics. He writes with equal proficiency in many languages, and we're all fortunate to actually read his writings in many papers, journals. And he's an orator par excellence. You will see it for yourself now. And probably a very articulate speaker beyond compare. So, be ready to get mesmerized and enticed by the inimitable Dr. B.M. Hegde. We are all here, sir, to hear from you. So, for the topic, the keynote address, Balancing Economics and Dharma in Healthcare, may I present before you Professor B.M. Hegde.
पूज्य वीरेंद्र हेगड़े जी, जोशी साहब, Gautam, Shetter, and my dear friend Shankar. I must admit that it is Shankar's persistence that has brought me here. He reminds me of a medical leech. It bites you, doesn't hurt you, but sucks your blood all the same. I'm here after 3 nights of traveling from the other end of the world, and I have not slept for the last 3 nights except 3 hours last night. So if I sleep in the middle, wake me up. Friends, Shankar has given me 2 directions. A, the Dharma of so-called healthcare. The other one is the economics of healthcare. The first thing I want to tell you is, are we doing any healthcare at all? That's the first question I would like to ask. Go home and think about it. We are doing sickness care. I was telling Jagat Prasad Nadda, the Union Health Minister, the other day when we met, I said, look, you are a disease minister and not a health minister. Ultimately, he was convinced that he is a disease minister because there is only one healthcare specialist in the audience. That is Pujya Sri Virendra Hegde ji. The important things for a human health are not doctors, medicines, and operations, but food, clothing, shelter, toilets, water to drink, and sanitation. The UNIDO in 1998 had given a list of things that you need in India to make India healthy. After the 1930s depression in the United States of America, they have come up, of course now they are going back, they come up not because of doctors and hospitals, but because of civil engineers. The sanitation and the toilets, plus food, information, all this has improved health. Health is not absence of disease. Remember that? Health is not absence of disease. The Alta's definition of health has been now rejected by the IOM, Institute of Medicine, which is an audit body in the United States of America. And we have given several alternatives. And one of the alternatives is health is defined not as absence of disease, because there is nobody in this audience who does not have a disease if you go in search of it. Every day, there are about 100 of the rogue cells which have not received their message to die normally, and they outlive And when they outlive the next day, they become potential cancers. Shankar was talking about Angelina Jolie. I have written extensively about her. Poor Angelina Jolie has also lost her ovaries now, Shankar. Breasts are gone, ovaries are gone, because some other doctors told her that you have a small chance of getting ovarian cancer in the next 60 years. And I'm sure by the time she ends up, if she lives up to 70 years, in spite of all these operations, all her organs will be removed. Let me tell you something. In quantum physics, science has changed now. It is not the Newtonian deterministic predictability that we are talking about and we are taught in school that we go by. Quantum physics, there is no tomorrow. So predicting the future is as impossible for an astrologer as is for a doctor or a scientist. Predicting the weather, forget about the human health, weather, which the man got the Nobel Prize, Edward Lorenz, very soon realized never comes correct. So he hypothesized. You know, science is making a hypothesis. If one hypothesis doesn't work, you have another hypothesis. So he has a hypothesis called, thank you, called the butterfly effect. He said, after I put all my data into my supercomputer, if a butterfly moves its wings in Beijing in China, it could disturb the air in such a way that with a Lyapunov effect, it can become a storm in New York after 1 month, which I can't calculate. The human body is exactly like that. You can only get a few ideas of the phenotype of the body. Height, weight, body mass index, cholesterol, ECG, X-ray, MRI, ABCD. But what you're missing is the 40% of man is his consciousness, his human mind, which is the most important thing. It's the consciousness that runs this world. Actually, in quantum physics, there is no matter at all. It is all energy. And the energy is the universal consciousness. Max Planck, who started, or rather began the revolution called quantum physics, so as that consciousness is fundamental. All matter is derived from there. And a man who found out matter is energy, who is with me now, and this man has said, he has written a paper for you, matter is not made out of matter. His name is Hans-Peter Dürr, and he got 2 Nobel Prizes. And this shows that we are just energy. The world is energy, and all of us are connected. I am related to you and you are related to me. So I have a dharma to look after you as much as I have a dharma to look after myself. India is known for its dharma, the ethics. I'll tell you something which you'll be surprised. 5 years ago, the BBC had a big symposium on ethics in life, not only in medicine, in life. Do you know what they chose as the theme subject? Tulasidasa's Ramacharitamanasam. Then somebody asked Sir Roland, why did you choose that book? We have our Iliad, Odyssey, so many things, you know, here, Shakespeare and all. The man was so good that he said, this is the only book in the world which talks about whole ethics, the godliness of man and the manliness of God. What a beautiful thought. He said, Bharata, who is a man, acted like God by refusing to take the Rajya or the kingdom because his mother had very vicious ideas. She was not ethical at all. Those days, if you don't claim your property for 14 years, the property does not belong to you. So Kaikeyi told her husband that Rama must go to the forest for 14 years. So when he comes back, the property will be still her son's. But what did Bharata do? He just put his Paduka on the throne and acted as a power of attorney. He didn't take over the property. Rama is God. He could have killed probably Ravana in no time. But he said, no, I must act like man and defeat him in a fight. This is godliness of man and manliness of God. That is what you should have in Dharma. If you look at the whole of Mahabharata, and it's all just the whole fight, it's just Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. Now divide that. Dharma plus Kshetra, Kuru plus Kshetra, rewrite it. Kshetre, Kshetre, Dharmam Kuru. In every walk of life, do your Dharma, your obligation, your duty. And as a doctor, we have a Dharma, and that is keeping the public health. When I was a student in the 50s, we had a very important subject passed called public health, which has all but disappeared because today we have got community medicine, now we have got social medicine and what have you, but not the public health. And today, doctors do not keep the public healthy. Doctors make them unhealthy if possible. This is what's called disease mongering. We want more diseases to have better business. This is business. Did you get that? This is called disease mongering. or otherwise called medi business. Supposing you are a cancer specialist. I'm sorry for saying this because it seems somebody asked Shankar, why did you call him? Avaru namaga baittare. Naan nanna maguvi kuda bayudilla. I don't shout at anybody. I love every one of you. And I tell you this because very soon time will come, people will hate you. I always tell my students, a doctor cannot survive without patients, but a patient can certainly survive without doctors. So before patients leave us, Sri Hegde ji was talking about his having spent 42 crores premium for. I'll tell you a story. His initial thing, the insurance company did not pay him a lot of money, and I had to arbitrate this many case sheets. And one case sheet I'll tell you is very interesting. One farmer in Puttur had a small nick with the plow. Small nick. Just, if he had just put some mud next to it, it would have been all right. That's what they used to do in the village when I was young. This fellow goes to the hospital because he has got insurance. So the hospital looks at him, Puttur hospital looks at him and says, oh, you have got insurance? Then we'll admit you because you don't get claim otherwise. So the first thing is admitted. And they said, we'll check you up because we may have to do some surgery on that nick. So they did every test, every instrument that they have got in the hospital. This is what is called over-investigation. Every test in the hospital. And then at the end, they told him, look, we do a skin grafting on that. Okay? So they did a skin grafting, which got infected, it fell off, and he had septicemia to be in the hospital for a long time. And the bill came to, in the Puttur hospital, 1,80,000. But the important part is not that. The insurance branch manager in Puttur writes on the case sheet in red ink, this is unscientific, not allowed. I was very interested. So I told the general manager, can I see your branch manager? So the branch manager was sent to my office. This fellow was shivering in his pants, thinking that, no, he has done a big crime and I'll shout at him. Then I said, sit down. He sat down. Then I said, you wrote such a beautiful thing. What you have written here is absolutely fine because nobody does skin graft for a fresh wound. That too, not a wound, it's a nick. How did you know that? I asked him. So he hesitated. Sir, to be frank with you, I am a veterinary surgeon, sir. There was no practice. The insurance offered a better pay scale, so I joined as a branch manager. So I agreed with the insurance company. Now this is what is called adharma in our practice. You will be surprised today. We do so much of intervention. We call ourselves divine interventionalists. And do you know the meaning of the word intervene? There are three meanings in the Western scripture. The last is called go in between with malice. I'll tell you a latest study. In America, we have the American College of Cardiology. We are about 26,000 fellows. When the conference occurs, 20,000, on an average about 20 to 25,000 people attend. So a professor, he is not a professor, he is an assistant professor at Harvard. He had a hypothesis that 25,000 cardiologists leaving the intensive care unit for 5 days to attend their conference, it is very bad for patients. All the bad patients will die. So he said, they should not have this conference. They must split it into 4 or 5 and have regional conferences, not national conference. But he wanted evidence. We have evidence now, evidence-based medicine. What is evidence? I'll come to it later. And he collected evidence. He saw 30 hospitals in the Massachusetts area to see what happens to patients, seriously, patients with a heart attack, patients with intractable heart failure, patients with cardiac arrest, etc. when doctors, cardiologists are away. From 2004 to 2014. And 10 years data shocked him. Do you know what the data said? Hardly anybody died when they were away. Hardly anybody died. Please read this paper because you don't get to read these papers because the company people don't pick up the papers and bring it to you. The papers they pick up and bring it to you is whole of India is dying of diabetes. In the next 10 years, everybody will be diabetic in India. What they don't tell you is if you give statin to everybody, 10% to 47% will become diabetics in 1 year. Statin can produce diabetes in you. This is not told to you and you don't read. Who reads science? I'll tell you what happened in Harvard Medical School 5 years ago. The professor of pharmacology was talking on statins for a long time. He talked and talked and talked. A third-year student got up and said, sir, you're talking like a company representative. You're not talking science and you're teaching us in Harvard. What happens to a student who gets up in Harvard and a distinguished professor, he says that he becomes an outstanding student, standing outside the class. This boy investigates further. And within 2 years, he finds out that this professor has 47,000 shares in that company producing statins. And he has received $25 million over the years for lectures, consultations, and what have you. Of course, he lost his job. He is in jail. But then the Harvard University tried to find out how many of their professors on the payroll. Would you believe 48% of the professors in Harvard University are on the payroll of the drug companies? You must have, blood pressure is a very common disease. Every 5 years there's a JNC committee. 10 of them sit there. They are supposed to be thought leaders. And they bring down the lower level. When I was a student, I was told blood pressure normal for an adult must be 160 systolic and 100 diastolic. When I became a doctor, it became 140 by 90. When I became a little more senior, it became 120, 70, 80. And then recently it became 110 by 70. Did you get that? Now I was discussing with some of these members, asking them, how on earth did you lower this? They said, we have evidence. Where is the evidence? I have not been able to get any evidence. I am a member of the International Society of Hypertension. I am a member of the Glasgow Society of Hypertension. But we don't have any evidence. And now 3 of those members are in jail. They have got too much money from the drug companies. And now they have a new president called Marvin Moser, who is a very nice professor of hypertensinology in the New York University. Marvin, the JNC 8 says, the blood pressure normal must be 159, not 160, like Bata shoe. And not 100, but 99 for an adult. If you are a diabetic and a bad one at that on drugs, it must be 140 by 90. See, where are we? Now, where is your evidence? See, today's, what is that called? That Karnataka English paper? Deccan Herald. There's a nice article from the United States of America which says, stents used in stable angina patients is worse than ordinary medicine. I have written 30 years ago about this, almost from the time Andreas Grunzig started stenting. I'll tell you the economics. One stent you can produce for $10. A cardiac stent can be produced for $10. It's sold for $2,000. Do you know the economics of it? $500 doctor's hospitality per stent. Doctor's hospitality, you know what it means. There's a stent. And then a small profit of $1,490. I'll give you one example of a cancer drug. There are a lot of cancer specialists here. Imitinab. It's a simple tyrosine kinase receptor inhibitor. It comes to about 2.5 lakhs. What they don't tell you is, you are cooking turmeric has 5 tyrosine kinase inhibitor receptor inhibitors. Not 1, 5. And if it is taken as turmeric only, it is good, and taken as a reductionist chemical, it is not good. I was telling the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research boys, 5 of them took my advice. I said, look, don't do this chemical extraction of pharma drugs, I mean herbal drugs. That won't work. Whole herbal drug. I'll give you one example they did. 1 crore they spent. You know this Brahmi? Vekapatta, what do you call that? We call it a timare. My grandmother used to make a chutney of it and give it to me before I go for the exam, saying that you will get better marks. So I used to think she is a bloody fool. Now, there are about 20 studies on the chemical extract of Brahmi. We showed nothing. Nothing. These boys in TIFR, I told them, make it chutney and feed. Now, the chutney fed rats, compared to the other rats, had a hippocampus major twice its size in 6 months' time. And these rats were so good that they could get out of any maze very easily. This is called the holistic experiment of the whole drug. That is something different from the extract. Garlic pearls. The company man will tell you, doctor, garlic is smelling. Pearls are very good. There's no smell because there is no garlic. They have removed the smelling part of it, the SH group, sulfhydryl group. You know what you smell in a fart? A sulfhydryl group. So the same SH group they have removed from the garlic and made beautiful pearls. It is good. It goes through the mouth and goes out to the toilet. Garlic to be medicine has to be eaten raw. It must mix with the trypsin in the saliva and the lipase in the saliva. Then only the alanine in the garlic as a whole becomes allicin, which is very powerful medicine. Who does this study? Professor Zymant in Harvard. Garlic we have, and Professor Zymant does the study. British Medical Journal wrote an editorial saying that garlic is good for cooking, but for medicine, because 43 studies showed garlic is useless. So I wrote to the editor, who is a good friend of mine. I said, look, Richard, you have not used any study garlic. You have used only garlic pearls. And he agrees with me now. And garlic has such powerful drugs, and all of them are so good. Come to operations. So many times we do operations. Like, for example, I'll give you one example in my specialty, bypass surgery. Many of you probably don't understand what is bypass surgery all about. You know how it all started? This man, Michael DeBakey, went in to operate and replace a calcified aortic valve in an elderly man who had severe aortic stenosis. When he went in there, what he found was the coronary arteries, the mouth of the coronary arteries was completely blocked with the calcium. Now, supposing he removes that valve with the ostia, man will die on the table. So he didn't know what to do. But he is a very brilliant cardiac surgeon, Michael DeBakey. So he said, okay, what to do? He thought for a while, there was not much time, patient was on bypass. So he stripped his veins in the leg, put them reverse, and then connected them, put a bypass. Just like these engineers put a bypass for a blocked toilet vessel, toilet pipe. But he was not sure whether the patient will survive. He never reported that, but watch the patient, watch the patient, watch the patient. He did it in 1964, the first operation ever done, but did not report till 1968 because he wanted to observe the patient for 4 years. In the meantime, his own colleague, his own junior colleague who fought with him and went out, Denton Cooley, stole this data and already did it and published it as the first man who operated on. See, this is what we do. Now, my former chief in Harvard is a Nobel laureate. He has designed an operation. He's 92 now. He designed a study about 5 years ago where with a laser tip today you can do myocardial revascularization, same as bypass surgery. So they had 600 patients over 5 years sent to the hospital, and he divided them blindly into two groups. Group A goes to theatre A, Group B goes to theatre B. And Group A, every other patient goes alternately. And Group A, the protocol is anesthetize, operate, send. B, anesthetize, keep him there, don't do anything. When he wakes up and goes, say, you had a wonderful operation. 5 years later, P, everybody is well. Everybody. And now, thallium scan shows their revascularization is perfect. In A, half of them had second bypass, and a quarter of them are in heaven with their maker. Now, this kind of things are there plenty. I am not going into that. I am here to only tell you two things. A, the economics of it. TiE is a very good idea. We must make business. But we must remember one thing. When the first industry started in 1802 in Europe, to be precise in England, there was this romantic English poet called William Wordsworth. And William wrote a poem. The world is too much with us. I'll tell you 4 lines. Remember that. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending. We have lost all our powers. Little do we see in nature that is ours, naturopathy. We have sold our soul to the devil, a sordid boon. My request to the doctors is, don't sell your soul to the devil, because you have to have a soul, and that's the only way you can treat patients. Because a wonderful study now shows, if a doctor is a very good human being, and patient can not demand faith, command faith. The doctor should command faith to the patient. You don't have to know medicine at all. I'll tell you something. A fascinating study was done in Oxford, Cambridge, Munich and Hammer together. Monitored from Oxford by Professor Bingle, who is a professor of medicine there now. What they did was they took patients with severe pain. Take for example cancer pain. And they ran a drip of morphia. All of us know morphia is the best painkiller, right? Any dispute about it? No. And told the patient, this is not morphia. This is a new vitamin we have found out for your disease. And you will be all right, but your pain may not go. 88% pain did not go. Okay? So they crossed over. They took the patient to the other side and they ran a saline drip, and told the patient, this is a morphia salt, new salt of morphia, and you will be fine. Their pain, shocked, what is happening? This is what I have been telling Sri Hegde when he was very young. He was 28, I was about 38 at that time. I was a professor. I was telling him, look, he asked me one day, a lot of patients come and ask me, doctor, whether he will be all right with this. I tell them they will be all right. Now, am I telling a lie? So I told him, no, you are telling the correct thing. Keep telling that. Because Abhaya, because he is called the talking Manjunatha. Manjunatha doesn't talk, no. So people believed, people had faith in him, F-A-H-I-T-H. And when he says, you will be all right, that's called the placebo effect. And this study showed it is the placebo effect only that works. I'll show you how. So they repeated the whole study with an fMRI, concurrent fMRI. And what it showed is, when the patient did not believe that it is morphia, though it was morphia, because he had faith in the doctor, he did not believe it was morphia, his forebrain slept. When the patient believed saline was morphia, his forebrain produced so much of opioids that the pain disappeared. This study went on for 4 years. Lot of patients, lot of money was spent. And the paper is there for you to read. You won't read that, I know. Paper is called the placebo effect. It's in a very prestigious journal called Science Translational Medicine, STM, which is a cousin of Science journal itself. March 11th, 2011. Please read this paper. Be a good human being and patients will be fine. Now I'd like to tell you a little about health. Can I have the first slide, please? I was telling you, this is not a healthcare business that you're doing. Remember that? I would like here TiE on sickness care future or business or whatever you want to call it. It's not health at all, because you're not doing anything for health. Health, well, I'll tell you what are needed. Nothing to do with healthcare, or we are not doing anything to health. Alma Ata definition doesn't define health, but the real definition of health which we gave, and the IOM has accepted it, is a state of, it's, no, next slide. Anyway, don't worry about that. The slides go up and down. Health is enthusiasm to work and enthusiasm to be compassionate. So get up in the morning, ask yourself, do I want to go to work today? If the answer is absolute yes, you are healthy. You don't have to check yourself out. If you say, do I have to do something good to others? If the answer is an affirmative yes, you are healthy. Does it mean you don't have a disease? No, you have a disease, but you are healthy. You may have a disease. As I told you, if I have a capacity to find out a rogue cell in you, each one of us is about 15 to 20 cancers every day, but they don't become clinical cancers, they all die out. Today we know, the cancer specialists themselves know, that quite a lot of cancers are not really not cancers. Half the breast cancers, what's called ductal carcinoma in situ, is not a cancer at all. Leave the woman alone, she will live 100 years. Treat her, she will be dead in 5 to 10 years. Prostate cancers, now even the government of America prevents testing for PSA. And you think you can detect diseases very early? When is early? A cancer takes about 30-40 years from the rogue cell to become a cancer. When are you catching it early? There's nothing called early, because in that time the cancer has seeded all over the place, and if it wants to be vigorous and bad, it can be bad. So recently Tata Cancer Hospital, they had an international conference on cancer, and they called me to inaugurate that. I told them, you know my views. He said, that's exactly what we want. So I went and told them exactly what I felt about cancer. I said, 85% of your research is fraud. They were shocked. But do you know what happened after that? The president of the American Cancer Society, who is a Nobel laureate, Harold Warmus, and Rajendra Badwe, who is the director, they came to my room in the Taj Palace. They said, sir, what you said is right. We have to change it. What do we do? So they're going to have a conference on contrarian views in cancer in Paris next year. They want me to give a keynote at this. And I told Tata Cancer, have a palliation unit. Give the patient a choice. I'll give you alternate treatment, you can, or I'll give you my treatment. Which one would you like? And if the patient takes the alternate treatment, today, now the whole unit, they started after 3 months. I inaugurated that unit also, and it's full. There's a queue. And 5 doctors from mainline cancer hospital in Tata have left and come to the palliation care. You give them TLC, tender loving care. I'll give you an audit. Christie's did an audit. Christie's is the oldest cancer hospital with records from 1841. 2 slots, 1900, 1940, 1950, 1990. 1 cancer, chronic myeloid leukemia. 1900, 1940, we only had TLC, tender loving care. In 1950, 1990, we busulfan and so many other things, splenectomy, what have you. And the per capita death was slightly more in the second half than in the first half. I'll give you a reason. Human body is not linear. Every day you give busulfan, but the mother cell of the white cell produces millions of white cells one day and then sleeps for 3 months. But your busulfan goes in every day. In the evening, 4 milligram goes in. On the day it has produced lot of cells, it does good. On the other days, it damages all the body cells. And we are killing them a little earlier than they would have otherwise died. So there are a lot of things. If any one of you needs, I will give you a letter which Rajendra Badwe wrote to me about the inside story of what's happening in the cancer arena. Because cancer is a big industry, $1.72 trillion industry. Can you believe that? Trillion, not billion. So all this is not told to doctors. I really pity doctors because we get only certain controlled education in the medical school. Do you know who writes your textbooks? Please go and read this editorial in the Lancet, March 1997. It says, medical education America is run by drug company and device company money. The textbooks are ghost written by the drug company, and a professor's name is borrowed for money, and it's put so and so's textbook of medicine. He has not even written, he has not seen that. And how do they write? Whatever is convenient to them, they write it. All this must stop. I think TiE can do a lot, because we Indians have the highest ethics in this world, because we have what our Dharma. Do you know what it says? You must do to others what you would like others to do to you. You know the difference between doctors and the patients? There's a nice study in America. Doctors do not want to die in the intensive care unit. Did you know that? A survey showed 90% of the doctors have written a will saying that I should not be taken to the intensive care unit. But every patient is forced to go into the intensive care unit. And you say, if you go to the hospital, intensive care unit. Right, Niranjan? Yes. Coronary care unit started in 1962 in Kansas City. It spread like wildfire all over. Even a village had coronary care unit. Kenuja? Off ಮಾಡಿ. ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಡಿ, ಖಾಲಿ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿ. A recent audit showed a conventional coronary care unit has not saved even one extra life. What a doctor is not told in the medical college is what is called NNT. You know NNT, number needed to treat. You don't understand that. Very simple, I'll tell you. The largest study on blood pressure showed to save one patient of a possible stroke in the next 5 years, Angelina Jolie, we have to treat 850 poor people with poisonous drugs for 5 years. And the adverse drug reactions have by then killed 75 of them. Did you get that? You're saving possibly one. We have been giving aspirin left, right and center after the age of 40 saying that you don't get a heart attack. Now the audit showed aspirin taken routinely without any indication might or might not prevent a heart attack. Might not is more forceful. But it will certainly produce 10% more cerebral hemorrhage, which will take you to heaven in sleep. Now these are not known because many of us cannot read research papers because we don't know the intricate statistics in that. And these statistics are sexed up, doctored and produced. I'll give you a nice book called Science Without Sense. This is about statistics in medicine. Medical science is not a pure science, it's a statistical science. If you ask me, medical science is an art. You know what art is? Art is that which makes a patient's day. And we must make the patient's day. And that's our main concern. That's what we're here for. When I was a student in the 50s, now I'm doing this study. I've already started the study in the United States of America in 10 hospitals with some money from somebody there. When we were students, we had hardly 5 or 6 drugs. But the per capita death of the number of patients who came to the hospital and went home horizontal or vertical, almost the same as today. So for evidence base, I'm doing that. 10 hospitals in America. I'm negotiating with 2-3 hospitals in the UK. Try to see 2 slots. When I was a student in the 50s to 70s, and maybe 2000 to 2020, to see what happens. This kind of audits only show us where we are. Now friends, health requires only very simple things. Clean drinking water for everybody in this country. You can close 40% of the hospital beds. Toilets for everybody, another 10% can be closed. And if you have 3 square meals a day, according to the UNIDO, uncontaminated by human and or animal excreta, you can close another 10% of the hospital beds. Sri Virendra Hegde ji was saying, our villages don't get the best facilities. You know, all of you must read this new book which has just come out from in London by a professor of history. His name is David Wooten, and the book's name is Bad Medicine, Doctors Harming Patients Since Hippocrates. For 2,500 years, our high-tech medicine was bloodletting for everybody. Bloodletting. 127 AD, Galen said, bloodletting will relieve all sick. George Washington was bloodlet for typhoid fever and he died. Napoleon Bonaparte had tubercular pericarditis. The bloodlet, if you have tubercular pericarditis where the heart is compressed, if you reduce the blood volume, if you reduce the blood pressure, patient will die fast. But do you know what happened? No poor man died because he didn't have the money to go to doctors. The poor people, even in our villages, are safe because they don't get unnecessarily intervened. And you are right, they are now better fed, they are now better educated, the children go to school and they are well informed, so they are healthier than our folks in the towns. Thank God there is an industry called health tourism industry. I said, fine, you can kill outsiders, but don't kill Indians. What is this industry? Tourism industry, medical tourism industry? I can't understand. I'll tell you what happens now with this Vajpayee scheme. Shettar ji was talking about Vajpayee scheme. There's a big case in Mangalore. Hospitals now have what are called motivators. Motivators. They go to the village and say, "Nimgella kaile." All of you can understand Kannada? No. You're all, you're not checked up, If you check up, then we can save your life. So they do it. Next day the van goes and everybody's checked. They went to a village and picked up 35 people there. Old ladies, you are there, everybody said, you have coronary artery disease, you have this, you have that. And then brought them like, the packed birds in a van to the hospital. And within one day, there were 6 of them were done angioplasties. One child was operated on the heart for replacing the valve. And so many other things were done. And for their bad luck, 4 of them died. Now 4 people dying in a small village is big news. Now the hospital was in trouble, everybody was in trouble. So the government says at that stage, let BM Hegde investigate. I said, look, am I a bloody fool? All the 3 doctors concerned are my students, so I'll be biased. I won't give a judgment against my students. Do you know what the chief minister told, I believe? Illella avaru students adru avaru bhala honest, avaru kottare. So I told him, I'm going to America. 2 months I won't be there, so you carry on. After that, when I come back, I'll see. They couldn't wait that long because there is so much of political pressure. I don't know what they did. Now why is this coming? Government is paying the money. So somebody is paying the money. Our business will have to go. I'll tell you something. To have a cardiac surgical setup today, you require about 60 crores. Now if you borrow that money from the bank, because nobody will put his black money and show it to the, you borrow it from the bank. Though you have money, you borrow it from the bank. Now what is the interest on 60 crores? You require 4 bakras every day to just meet with the things. See, this is business. We have sold our soul to the devil, wrote William Wordsworth, a sordid boon. Can you believe an 85-year-old lady was done an angioplasty, and that's the lady who died in that village? A 4-year-old child was replaced a valve, and the child dies in the hospital itself. It is like in the olden days, everybody's kannella tegiyudu. Cataract. It has come to that now. Avaga cataract ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಈಗ heart transplant ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, heart transplant, Vajpayee ಮನೆಯಿಂದ. And cancer area is still worse. They are hoarded up, taken to one place for Vajpayee thing. And then all their tube stuck here, another fellow tube stuck there, and they are in a bus, they are taken to the other place, and then they are taken back because the money comes from the Vajpayee scheme. So that's what I told Nadda. Don't spend your money on sickness care. Spend your money on health care. This country will be a healthy place. Not a penny is spent on, because health care is not under, say, PWD is not under the health minister. I think health ministry must be PWD ministry. You'll be fine. Agriculture ministry is not under the health minister. It should be there. So we have this reductionist idea in every field. You must have a holistic idea. And don't you look at the human body in bits and pieces. Charaka so beautifully says, A man who knows one Shastra, and that to one part of the Shastra, he is not a doctor, he is not fit to be a doctor, he is a businessman. You must know the whole Shastra, and the holistic medicine is coming back, and we have been able to get WPH as the future of healthcare by the IOM, whole person healing, where person is energy. Today, quantum physics says your body is your mind is your body, and the energy displacement is disease, and replacing the energy is medicine. And we are working on that, and we have so many devices, heart attack patients, stroke patients, and now we have even got for various psychological diseases. You know, the biggest problem in psychological diseases, we are treating the brain, but the mind is not in the brain. This is the problem. The mind is not in the brain. Brain is only a coordinating structure. It's a very small structure. Mind is a huge thing. You can't confine the mind to a brain. And there is this neuroscientist in Mayo Clinic. His name is David Weavers. David is the emeritus professor of neurology in the Mayo Clinic Medical School. And David has done a beautiful book. I want all doctors to read that. The book is called The Theory of Reality. Reality. Your consciousness, and what you need is placebo therapy. Do you know what happens when you take medicines? You don't know. Study this. The study is called Mitochondria as Chi. Chi is energy. And this is written by a professor of genetics in the journal called Genetics in the year 2008. It's called Mitochondria as Chi. Madam is writing. His name is Douglas Wallace, madam. D.C. Wallace. Author's name. Article's name is Mitochondria as Chi. Journal is Genetics. Year is 2008. Volume is 179. Page is 727. Go and read it. Free. Why I am telling you this? He had a chip, MIT chip, mitochondrial chip. You take any medicine, reductionist medicine, and chip it, tag it. As soon as it goes to the stomach, the body's wisdom, consciousness says, this is something I have not seen. My ancestors have not seen. So it must be poison. Send it to the liver. It goes to the liver for destruction. And sometimes something remains, it comes out. It's called the first pass effect. Pharmacology professor has taught you first pass effect. But he has not told you what is the philosophy of first pass effect. That means any drug that you take today, it destroys your liver. You know, when I was a student, there was nothing called non-alcoholic cirrhosis. Today, non-alcoholic cirrhosis is the biggest disease in the world. Would you know that? And it's all because of drugs. And what happens when? What comes out is the one that gives you side effects. But what has gone in has destroyed the liver. So, no chemical drug which goes inside works. But the same thing given as a whole, like for example, a tomato you take every day, which contains 25 milligrams of vitamin C, it will prevent the onset of cancer in the next 5 years, 5% less. You take vitamin C every day, your chance of getting cancer goes up by 5% in 5 days. Did you know that? This is called hormesis, not taught in pharmacology in the medical school. Hormesis. Now this is why I am saying, you are not wrong. You are all nice young boys and girls who have come out of the medical school. And Shankar was saying, sir, they have spent so much money to go in the medical school and become doctors. So, you know, you tell them not to make money, they'll feel bad. I said, Shankar, you are right. But I never learnt medicine as a business to make money. I went to the medical school to be of some use to society. Of course, I didn't spend money. I spent only 230 rupees a year, my school fees. That does not mean I shall not make money and you make money at the patient's cost. No. This is not a business. So friends, TiE is the right opportunity for you. Deliberate on all these things. I have written extensively about it. 30 minutes is up and I'm going to stop. And they say I have 15 minutes for you to ask questions. Questions welcome, answers not guaranteed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think we have been enticed and enthralled by this brainstorming session. I think definitely there will be some questions from the audience. There are mics around. You can please pick up your mic and you can ask. Let me start.
Good boy. See how thoughtful. You are a good doctor. He can sense the problems of the patient. ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. You know what happens when you speak? You must walk and speak, because your brain cells get better blood supply. You sit in a chair, sit for 1 hour, you reduce 1 day in your lifespan. Sitting is the worst thing that can happen to health. Now there is an awareness of health everywhere. You know, I was giving a keynote address on the 21st of June in Lisbon. Lisbon is a huge yoga center. You think Portuguese people are our enemies? No, they're our friends. A huge, actually it was the Guruji there who motivated Modi ji to go to the United Nations and present this data. And he wrote up the draft and gave it to him. And they called me for what a wonderful set of people there. My God. There was one lady, 98 years old, and in the final session on the 21st in the morning, which was recorded all over the world, we were all saying Om. This lady started with Om. Om. It never ended. All of us stopped. She was going on, 98. And she said, ever since the center started 45 years ago in Lisbon, she has been doing yoga. So, you know, health is a fascinating thing, and we need health care business. And I'll tell you, if you're starting a new business in medicines, start on holistic herbal drugs. I told you, I gave you an example of Timare. TIFR did the study. If I told you I did the study elsewhere, you'll say, this fellow, this ass must be all bluffing. TIFR did the study. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Prashna ilva?
It is, sir.
Ida. Quick.
So I would like to take this.
Mangalore go quick. Heli, doctor.
I am Dr. Kulkarni, Vinod Kulkarni. I am a psychiatrist. At the outset, full compliment to Dr. B.M. Hegde for the lucid explanation of all the things. One thing I want to tell you at this juncture, sir, there was a paper written by Dr. Dungaji, my professor of psychiatry at Bombay. He published a paper on placebo, placebo response, and placebo responders. That won an Emer gold medal from America. Number one. So full marks to you for mentioning about placebo and all that. Secondly, you did say that psychological disorders, they keep on treating, but nobody knows where mind is. I'd like to differ from you, sir, because when somebody loves a person, he says, I have given him my heart. If somebody wants to study, he says, I'm not able to concentrate in my brain. That means, does the mind lie in the heart or does the mind lie in the brain? The latest theory says that there is no connection which connects one's heart to one's brain, and there does lie mind. That's something about which I wanted to elaborate. Compliments, sir.
Beautiful question. I didn't want to elaborate, but there was no time. Let me tell you, psychiatry, you know, last week I was lecturing in a psychiatry department at the University of IMS, and the professor of psychiatry there is a fascinating man. He also got up and said, Professor Hegde, I don't think I agree with you fully. I said, yes, I want you to disagree, then only we can take this further. I'll tell you something. There was a heart transplant done by my friend called Magdi Yaqub in London. He does the transplant of a young man. The heart was very bad. And this man gets a heart from a younger boy, who met with an accident. Now, very interesting thing is, this fellow before the transplant, the patient, before the transplant, was a voracious beef eater. He wants beef for morning, afternoon, night. After the heart transplant, he became a vegan. He couldn't see the sight of beef. Then Magdi, very thinking, Magdi was nonplussed. Why has this happened? Then they investigated and found out the boy who was killed and gave his heart, he was a vegan. So the mind is in the heart also. But what I was saying is something different. I didn't tell you that. And that is, all psychiatric drugs, especially antipsychotic drugs, starting from largactil, are from naphtha. Largactil comes from nujol. Nujol is the byproduct of petroleum extraction. And from largactil to SSRIs, they're all antipsychotic drugs affecting the brain cells. And your own colleague, professor of psychiatry in New York, she has written a book. Her name is Grace Elizabeth Jackson. Grace Elizabeth Jackson. The book's name is Dementia, a drug-induced crime on mankind by doctors. Because every single chemical that you give, even ADD, ADHD, you know, every child, probably, many of us would have been treated as ADHD if the disease was there at that time. If you are a little naughty boy in the class, you are ADHD and Ritalin is given to you. The man who discovered or named ADHD, Leon Eisenberg, who was the president of the American Psychiatric Association Nomenclature Committee, he died recently, 89 years of cancer. The day before he died, or the same day that he was dying, he called a press conference. And do you know what he said? Please tell the world that I created this disease called ADHD for the benefit of the drug company because they maintained me all my life. And now I am feeling sorry because the drug has killed millions of children in the world. Please tell the world that this disease does not exist. Now this is called medicine business. Now all that I was saying is, mind is in your cell. Every cell, of which you have got 120 trillion cells. And Shankar said, Angelina Jolie's prediction of the genes. Genes have gone long back. See, our idea, gene, DNA, RNA, protein expression, and then disease. No, it's not there. You have only 23,000 human genes in your genome. You have 2.5 trillion germ genes. Together, the idea of your inheritance is 1 divided by some 1,000 zeros. 2.5 trillion, you divide 23,000 by 2.5 trillion, I can't calculate. Number one. Number two is, the evolution is not now Mendelian or Darwinian. It is completely different environment. And Mendel and Darwin have studied only a small reductionist portion of it. Darwin's own father-in-law, Erasmus, told Darwin, look, you are wrong. And it is environmental. Lamarck. Now Lamarck is venerated. Lamarck said, it is all environmental. I'll give you an example. A lizard, a chameleon, his enemy is a snake. So a chameleon can smell a snake at a distance of 100 feet. If the chameleon is pregnant, it can alter the whole physiology of the offspring inside to be able to smell a snake at 1,000 feet, giving the offspring a better life for the future. It's all environmental. So Angelina Jolie's genes will not predict anything, because you will be surprised. The gene in your mitochondrial organelle belongs to an E. coli. And if you know this, you should become that aham, I goes. Who am I? I can't lift a finger without the E. coli's permission. So there is no I. I always tell my patients, I is illness, we, wellness.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can I?
Okay.
Sir, my name is Veer Narayan Kulkarni. I am part of Mahesh Trust's Yoga and Naturopathy Center in Dharma. And I was enthralled by your talk, sir. I have a challenge here. As leading the Yoga and Naturopathy Center, our Chief Medical Officer is from Ujjire, and what we are seeing is the last resort these days is yoga and naturopathy. If you have gone through allopathy, homeopathy, and nothing works, you come to yoga and naturopathy. But at least in the urban population, this is still okay. People understand that there is a resort called as, there is a last resort is yoga and naturopathy. But for the rural, the superstitions, as Dr. Hegde mentioned, overtakes any other rationale. Sir, do you have any suggestion for us?
Good boy. Very good suggestion. I'll tell you. Yoga is not a treatment for a disease. No, no, no. Yoga is a lifestyle. Yoga can't be done for half an hour sitting there and doing all asanas and then saying Om Om and then 23.5 hours cheating others. No, that's not yoga. Krishna tells Arjuna, if you are a yogi, of course he was talking about karma yoga, which is the same as the yoga that you do. If you are a good human being, do you know who is a good human being? Krishna tells Arjuna, life is so difficult, it's like a samudra. You have to come up all the waves. Even then you are not coming close to me. Do you know when you come close to me? You leave your aham. And you become truly, genuine. Like for example, one day, Krishna taking Arjuna for a walk. Then the Arjuna says, God, Krishna, why do people call Karna Dana Shura Karna and they don't call me because I am also doing Dana? Then he said, Arjuna, shall I put you to a test? He said, go ahead. So he immediately created a big mountain of gold and said, Krishna, Arjuna, give this gold to the villagers. So Arjuna went with all his power, digging and giving. Villagers, when once you get, you want to get more. Getting is greed. So they came back. Arjuna was so tired by evening. He said, Krishna, now do something for me. Then Krishna says, I'll tell you what is real dana. He calls Karna and creates another mountain and says, Karna, give this mountain to the villagers. Karna comes and says, calls all the villagers, hey, this mountain is yours. And he walks away. That is the pratyahara. In Yamaniyamas, pratyahara. Now I see the beautiful watch in Joshi Saab's hand. It's a fascinating watch. A thing of beauty is joy forever. I must love that watch. But I should never even have an inkling that, I wish I had that watch. The minute you have that, you come to the chitta level, aham, and then chitta, vritti, nirodha, yogaha. So yoga is a lifestyle. And we Indians, if we practice our Sanatana Dharma, you are a yogi. Everyone is a yogi. And that is called vakevam kritevam sajjanam, vakaivam kritevam durjanam. You must be brahmachari. Yoga is brahmachari. Brahmachari means not marrying a wife and not sleeping with your wife. No. Brahmacharya is authenticity in everything you do. You must walk your talk. So yoga is a way of life. Teach it like that to the people and don't teach it as a treatment for disease. Of course, it can cure a lot of diseases because the biggest rhythm in the human body, dominant rhythm, is the breathing. And the dominant rhythm in this world, according to quantum physics, mode locks all the other rhythms. Like for example, Edward Lorenz had 100-watt wall clocks as a present after lecture, after he got the prize. So he kept all that different places in the laboratory. And one old granny had given him a big pendular clock. He had kept it in the middle and wanted to go for a holiday. 15 days he went and came back. All the clocks were showing the time of the old granny story. So the big rhythm mode locks the other rhythm. So breathing mode locks everything except menstruation. Remember that. So if a patient comes to you and says, I have menstrual irregularity, do yoga, don't promise anything because menstruation is under the effect of the moon's gravitational pull. So that's the only rhythm in the human body which is out with the human system. Others are all breathing. So if you know how to breathe, you know how to live well. Have you seen a dog breathing? It will live only 15 years. Gati. You must lower your gati and take a deep breath in. There's a cardiac transplant center in San Diego. 150 patients were waiting for heart transplant with intractable heart failure, dying like flies every day. One cardiologist, because nobody was obliging the heart, one cardiologist felt sorry. So he started Sukha Pranayama because they couldn't do anything except Sukha Pranayama. The 40% peripheral oxygen level jumped up to 90% in no time. And half the patients went home without an indication for heart transplant. So don't be dogmatic about yoga because I have seen in America there are so many yoga schools. Ramesha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Vasanta Yoga and things like hot yoga, cold yoga and all money making business. Today alternate medicine is costlier than modern medicine. Did you know that? I know one center in Bangalore. This man is not qualified in Ayurveda. He is not even qualified in any system except postal tuition for homeopathy. And there he has developed a huge Ayurvedic spa and then facility. 25,000 rupees for 10 days. Not a bad business. Prince Charles comes there, so he publishes Prince Charles is here. So, see, it's all business. That's why I said TiE, entrepreneurial, but it must be ethical business. That's called humanism. Business humanism, medical humanism. I was talking to the medical school of University of California in Los Angeles, their inaugural day. There's the first graduates when you come out. That day you give a lecture. I was talking about medical humanism. Ultimately what matters is the human being must be given all respect. Your patient is your God and every day. Thank you very much.
So there is two more questions.
Share one thing, whatever doctor was telling, not only right, America has got a lot of negative side, but positive side also. They have started a medicine of the future is called energy medicine, big center in America, and on the basis of that, we have started a small energy medicine center of wellness. Whatever you are telling, in a small way we have started in that's what energy medicine.
Very good, Paimam. You are right. But energy medicine is not started there for the first time. We have been doing, we have an energy medicine institute. We call ourselves as the World Academy of Authentic Healing Sciences. and we have lot of energy medicines. And actually, I was there in the center now to do a new thing now. We have got, it's all electromagnetic energy that we use, different frequencies. For heart attack, one frequency, for brain attack, another frequency. Now we have got something for psychological illness. And I was looking at the results that we have got. I have got a colleague who is doing this in a particular center in the New York University. And we have got wonderful results. Wonderful results. Anxiety, panic attacks. And even, we are trying for OCD and others with very good results.
I will ask a very small question. I was quite stunned by your presentation. Can you define what is the meaning of the word senile? Because you are the oldest man here. Remember so many years, names, pages, chapters, shocked. I want you to define what is the meaning of the word senile.
These Tamilians are very intelligent people. நீங்க சொல்றதெல்லாம் கரெக்ட் தான். அது எப்படி தெரியுமா? அது passion. You can't remember that. It's not remembering. I don't know your name. After 2 days, if you ask me, யார் எனக்கு தெரியாது. உங்க மூஞ்சி தெரியும். It's passion. I have been in this business for more than now half a century, man. It's not yesterday. As a medical student, I used to fight with my professors. And I had a lot of problems. But it's because it's a passion. Passion. You can't forget that. Because a lot of, people curse me. I get every day about 100 emails. 2 or 3 of them say you are a bloody fool. I'm very happy. I have one of my own students, a good boy when he was a student. He writes a blog called Nirmukta. Anything I write, he says is foolish. A lot of people have told me, that fellow is talking nonsense, why don't you tell him something? I said, no, he's my student. Whatever I had to teach him, I have taught him in the medical school. So, what cannot be changed has to be tolerated, And then I found a beautiful quote which says, one who has not been criticized has not done anything in life. Thank you very much.
So we had one more question. Hand mic.
ಸರ್ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಬಾರಿ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ ಇದು ರಿಫೈನ್ಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ರಿಫೈನ್ಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು, ಅದು ಭಾಳ ತಪ್ಪು, ಕೊಬ್ಬರಿ ಎಣ್ಣೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ. ಆವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಧರಣ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಹೆಗಡೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಿಸ್ಪ್ರೊಪಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಲಂಡನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ. ಈ ಮಾತು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಯಾಕೆ ನಾನು ಅವತ್ತು ಮಾತಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು 20 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ, ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಾಗಲಿ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ರಿಫೈನ್ಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯಿತು, ನಾನೇನು ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ಲು ಆಯಿಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದೆ. ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕೆಟ್ಟ ದಂಧೆ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾನು ದುಡ್ಡು ಗಳಿಸೋದು ಬೇಡ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ. 32 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾನು ಜಿಂದಾಲ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೆ. ಆವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೇಚುರೋಪತಿ ಅದು ಇದು ಕಲಿತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ 2007ದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಬಾ ರಾಮದೇವ್ಜಿಯವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ 7 ದಿವಸ ಇದ್ದರು, ಕ್ಯಾಂಪ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಹೋದ ವರ್ಷ ಒಂದು ರೇಖಿ ಗುರುಗಳು ಇದ್ದರು, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಸಿ 8 ದಿವಸ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಂಪ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸುದೈವದಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮಂಥವರು ಮತ್ತು ಅಂಥವ್ರು ಒಂದು ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ನಾನು ಚೂರು ಚಾರು ಯಾವುದೋ, ನಾನು ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ. ಪ್ರಯೋಗ ಬೇರೆದವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ನನ್ನ ಮೇಲೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆದರೆ ವಿತ್ ಎ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೇಷನ್ಸ್, ನಾಟ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್. ಯಾವುದೇ ಜೇನುತುಪ್ಪವನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಶುಗರ್ ಏರುತ್ತೆ. ಜೇನುತುಪ್ಪ ಒಂದು 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿದಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು 30,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿವರೆಗೆ ಲೀಟರ್ ಜೇನುತುಪ್ಪ ಇದೆ. ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಜೇನುತುಪ್ಪ ಇದೆ. ಅನೇಕ ಜೇನುತುಪ್ಪ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಶುಗರ್ ಇರೋದು ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ. ಆದರೆ ಒಂದು ಅಧ್ಯಯನದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡು ಬಂತು, ಈ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಹೂವಿನಿಂದ ಬಂದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇದು ನೀರಲ್ ಹಣ್ಣಿನ ತೋಪಲ್ಲಿ ಜೇನು ಹುಳುಗಳನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಟು ಜೇನು ಶೇಖರಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಪುಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಳೆದ 4 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಆ ಜೇನುತುಪ್ಪವನ್ನು ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. 1,000ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಲಾಭ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದ ಶುಗರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಡೌನ್, but it will activate the pancreas also. So even I have given to lot of doctors and including Praveen Bhai Togadia, who is the greatest oncologist and also so many eminent people. So I am happy with that. And many people I am advising them to go for a raw food when they are high diabetic, and they have gone for a raw food and shown a very great result. Those who were with 400 sugar level, they used to take 40 insulin. Now they have come down to 140 sugar level with 10 or 12 insulin this thing. And many doctors, including that, they were very eager to eat banana, chiku and mango. I told them, ನೀನು ಸಾಯಲ್ಲ ಮಾರಾಯ, ನೀನು ತಿನ್ನು ನೋಡು, ನನ್ನ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ಒಂದು 100 ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಸಹಿತ ಇವತ್ತು 4-5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಬಾಳೆಹಣ್ಣು ಮತ್ತು ಚಿಕ್ಕು ಹಣ್ಣು ಮತ್ತು ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋ ಸೀಸನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಾಗ 6-8 ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋ ತಿಂತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರ ಶುಗರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಲು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಡುಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಈ ಕಚ್ಚಾ ಆಹಾರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗಮನ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ, ನಮ್ಮ ಒಬ್ಬ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಮೇಟ್ ಜಾಗೀರ್ದಾರ್ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ, ಅವನು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಹೈದರಾಬಾದ್ನಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ಸಂಬಳ ಇದೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ, ಹೈ ಪೋಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಆದಾಗ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ವೇ ಔಟ್ ಇದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವನು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್, ಟಾಟಾ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ನಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ. ಅದು ಟ್ಯೂಮರು ಹಾರ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಪೈನಲ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ಗೆ ಟಚ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಓಪನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ ಬೋತ್ ಸೈಡ್. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ 20 ಲಕ್ಷ ಖರ್ಚಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಅಷ್ಟು ಖರ್ಚಾದ ನಂತರ ಉಳಿಯೋದು ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಂದರೆ 0 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ನನಗೆ ಕೇಳಿದ, ನೋಡಪ್ಪ ನನಗೇನದು ತಿಳಿಯಲಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋ, ಯಾವ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಡೆನೂ ಹೋಗು, ಆದರೆ ಕಚ್ಚಾ ಆಹಾರ ಶುರು ಮಾಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಹಾಂ,
ರಾ ಫುಡ್ ಈಗ ಅಮೆರಿಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಡ್.
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನು ರಾ ಫುಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ 6 ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವನು ರಾ ಫುಡ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನೀನು ಹೆದರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತ್ಕೋಬೇಡ, ಆಫೀಸಿಗೆ ದಿನ ಬಾ, 4 ತಾಸು ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ ಮಾಡು. 4 ತಾಸು ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, 15 ನಿಮಿಷ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡು, 15 ನಿಮಿಷ ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ. ಸಾರಿ,
ಓಕೆ,
ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್. ಕ್ವೈಟ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್. ಅವನು 4 ತಾಸು ನಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದ ಮತ್ತು ಕಚ್ಚಾ ಆಹಾರ ತಿಂತಾ ಇದ್ದ. ಅವನು 6 ಮಂತ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಟೋಟಲಿ ಎ ನಾನ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರಸ್ ಪೇಷಂಟ್. ಸೊ this I want to bring to your notice.
Very good. And this has been now extensively studied in America, and they have found it is good. And not only that, America now says coconut oil is the best oil, and Costco has one full building for coconut. And today you go to America, every house has coconut water, coconut oil, and coconut oil is the only oil because the coconut oil and mother's milk have the same protein.
Yes, sir. One thing I will add to here. When you told me in Mangalore that coconut oil ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ನನಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜನ ಬೈತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ, ನಾನು ಕೋಕೋನಟ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಪೇಷನ್ ಇದ್ದವರಿಗೆ ಕೋಕೋನಟ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಪೇಷನ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಜನ ಹೆದರ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೋಕೋನಟ್ ಆಯಿಲಿಂದ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪ್ರೂವ್ನ್ ಇಟ್ that the cholesterol level will come down if the coconut is consumed more.
Yes, you are right. Coconut oil will bring down cholesterol level. Coconut oil is the best method to lower your your body weight, and coconut oil probably is one of the very good treatment for many illnesses including hypothyroidism.
Yes, sir.
Because it increases your body
so,
metabolism.
As on today I am handling about 1000 patients for your information.
ಹೌದು, ಅವರು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್, ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತುಂಟು ಅವರದ್ದು, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಉಂಟು. ಅವರು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಹೇಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರಷ್ಟೇ.
Thank you, Dr. B.M. Hegde. I think this has been an outstanding session, an exceptional speaker. I think this has been our lifetime opportunity to hear from him. And probably I request Mr. Anand Sankeshwar to present a moment to Dr. B.M. Hegde. Can I ask you for a standing ovation? I think he richly deserves Dr. B.M. Hegde.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I told that, this is a day which will be written in the history of the healthcare of North Karnataka map, we have Dr. B.M. Hegde, one of the great human beings, one of the greatest doctors of our times, here with us, and we are fortunate to hear him live, that too in presence of Rajarshi, Dr. D. Virendra Hegde. I think we are all bestowed. Let us carry on this holy thing and holy thoughts, and all the other speakers are also exceptionally good in their chosen field. Let us settle down and let the proceed go on. Thank you so much.